Trump should have forced his submission. Oh, I agree. I totally agree. Shouldn't have had to argue with that boy at all. And I tell you once more, what's more, Trump should take those rare earth materials and we should not give Ukraine anything else. We should basically just leave them to burn. So if it were up to me, I'd take the rare earth materials, I'd leave Ukraine to burn and try to use those rare earth materials, sell them obviously, and use them to replenish the coffers of the United States that have been basically expended causelessly in the Ukraine. And as a great leader who actually loves the people, which these leaders care nothing about the American people, I would tell them, I say, we've expended fill in the blank trillions of dollars in Ukraine. I've seized the rare earth materials. I've sold the rare earth materials. The tally is this amount of money. And I would now like to redistribute that money directly back to the citizens of America. And I'll do it through one of the following means. I'll either utilize it to reduce student loan debt, or I'll utilize it to provide grants to those seeking to buy a home, or something meaningful that's useful for the American people and or economy. In countries like Oman, you find that they have a lot of programs for the citizens. Now, me personally, I'm not a socialist. I don't believe in handouts. And I do know that taxation is theft, and I would return that money back to where I got it, which is the American people. So that's not a handout. That's just paying what you owe. And I truly do believe in that. Gentleman writes, this is a situation where you castrate a nothing to lose weakling before he drowns us both. Well, you see, he can't drown us both. And Trump was actually quite inaccurate and a bit loose-lipped and thoughtless when he said that Zelensky is pushing World War III. Not quite. The only way Zelensky could push World War III is if he, attacked deep into Russia, attacked critical targets with long-range missiles. Well, where did he get long-range missiles? Well, he got those from the United States government. And only with the signing off of the United States government would any of the European arms have gone to Zelensky. So as a result, only the United States could bring forth World War III. So that's just frankly not true, and it's not very honest. So Trump made that statement, and it was very errant. Shout out to Santino, right? Zelensky was about to get stomped out. Too bad for Ukraine, in my opinion. He should have been thrilled at the chance of peace. Oh, no, because peace would mean that he presided over the loss of territory. Yes, he presided not only over the loss of territory, but he, in addition, presided over the loss of significant life. Yes, the young men of Ukraine. And in addition to losing the lives of many young men of Ukraine, he's also seen a massive exodus of Ukrainian persons. And this is not new, but before they were basically economic migrants. Now they've left as refugees. And I tell you what, they're not coming back. No, those pretty Ukrainian girls aren't coming back. They're busy meeting fat, hairy, wealthy folks from around the world. And they're enhancing their gold digging skills, which have already been A1. The men have been known for their great skills in software development and in design, and the women have been known for their excellence in being gold diggers. And so now they've been let loose on the world, and they've been permitted to travel many places, having been called refugees. They're not coming back. Why would they go back to an economy that wasn't strong before the war? Come on now. So Ukraine now is going to have a population issue, but I'm sure they'll be able to get the population back once the Western companies, not governments, companies go in there and start rebuilding the infrastructure using whose money? The money of the American taxpayer. Yes, that money will go from your pockets to pay taxes to your government, which were meant to provide for the basics in America: roads, bridges, policing force, standing army if things get ugly. But instead, those things they're going to say, oh, we need to rebuild Ukraine, as though that's the responsibility of the American people while you live paycheck to paycheck and they fleece you on a regular basis. They're going to go and say, we need to build roads, schools, hospitals in Ukraine. And they're going to take your money and go do that. And companies like Caterpillar and US Steel and all these other entities are going to make a killing. Yes, they'll make a killing, and you'll never get paid back. You see, government always wants their money, right? They never let you slide with taxes. Does the American taxpayer ever get paid back? No, they don't. But the reason Zelensky can't give up is because he's taken a total loss, not a partial loss, a total loss. Yes, many Ukrainian men dead. The Ukrainian men who refused to fight fled. They can't come back because they're draft dodgers. The women left because there's always a better life outside of Ukraine, even when Ukraine's not at war. They're not coming back. And, that land there is going to be resold. It's no longer going to be Ukrainian for the most part. It'll be owned by Russians. It'll be owned by Brits. It'll be owned by Arabs. It'll be owned by Chinese. It'll be owned by everyone except Americans, except the American citizens that paid to maintain some level of freedom and independence for Ukraine. But it's not real freedom and independence. Ukraine is one of those unfortunate states that, they just happen to be located somewhere where they cannot have freedom. They will be controlled either by the West, which is to say NATO, EU, United States, or they will be controlled by Russia, but they'll never be free. So really, they're just in the business of choosing a master. Choosing a master, that's all. That's what they're in the business of right now. Come on now. But no, Zelensky can't admit defeat because he has to keep fighting, but he's deluded at this point because the only thing he's going to accumulate are more bodies. Shout out to Tap In supporting the work. Shout out to the real ones. May I also acknowledge Chung writes, Trump needs to give a demo and make Ukraine the 51st state. Well, that would be akin to making Ukraine a part of NATO, and that would certainly be unacceptable by the Russians. Putin is weak, so really Trump can do whatever he wants to do. Because if Putin was strong, Ukraine would have been made short work of. But let the American government not delight in that statement. For the American government hasn't won any war in the last 10 years, by my estimation. They went into Iraq, fail. Went into Afghanistan, fail. They effectively destroyed Libya, but did they win? No, they didn't win. Libya is now experiencing the likes of Al-Qaeda and various other Islamo-fascist groups. It is currently a failed state. And even one of the sons of Muammar Gaddafi was running for office. That's a fail. The guy you tried to eradicate, his family is still there and respected, which only shows you that you removed a man of the people. That was a fail. Syria's a fail. Where has America won? Nowhere. All they've done is engaged in protracted warfare on a consistent basis and squandered the resources of the American state. And in seeking to establish empire, they've not even had the decency to bring back the booty to the citizens or the soldiers. Yes? To the soldiers of America, you are naked, ill-fed, and ill-led. Come on now. What you fighting for? Shout out to Jay. He writes, looking forward to your insight about this altercation. I do have some insight on this. It's sickening liberals are supporting another country's demands of our money to support indefinite warfare to a weaker side that has lost. Well, liberalism is a mental illness. But what people don't realize in the United States is that the entire political edifice is sick and, lurching toward death, both the left and the right. I mean, in America, it's not so long ago that we had prominent out of the closet homosexuals purporting to be conservatives. Someone explain that. So we find sickness on both sides. Even in our culture, it's vile. The lowest aspects of white culture have dominated. You have phraseology like, hold my beer, which is a phrase that's supposed to be masculine, but really it just reeks of stupidity. And the visual that goes along with that is some, corn-fed, fat slob of a person, trying to do something extraordinary while looking below average. Yes, and we've allowed this kind of phraseology and thinking to bleed into the culture. Hold my beer. You shouldn't even be drinking beer. Do we forget this is a country founded by religious zealots? Do we forget that this is a country that once had prohibition? Do we forget that this country more so used to resemble the countries in the Middle East that we like to invade and bring freedom to? And when we say freedom, what we really mean is hedonism. I shouldn't say we, the American government. When the American government says freedom, they mean hedonism. They mean immorality and decadence. They mean the opening of markets for American capital. Acknowledge Rakely writes, quite a mirror between Zelensky and women. High off simps creating delusion over one's power. Right? It's, that's wild. And honestly, I found it shocking that Vance or Trump would argue with him at all. It's like you're basically a subject. So you have one that's in the position of a king, a Trump, a Vance, as represented by the might of the American military. And so you have the king arguing with the subject or the jester. I thought it was ridiculous. And I thought that he really should have been able to shut him up. But the cockiness was just extraordinary. But we also have to remember that Zelensky is in part cocky like that because he is, ethnically, is he Ukrainian? Or is he just Ukrainian by citizenship? Somebody talk to me. You even have the president of Mexico, which is a female, which is utterly ridiculous, number one. But number two, is she ethnically Mexican? Is she ethnically Mexican? What's her ethnicity? How's this add up? She's about as authentic as me being president of Mexico or me being president of Ukraine. I think those are important things to point out. I think it's fair to say that in China, a Chinaman should be president, a Chinaman, not a woman. I think it's fair to say in Italy, an Italian should be president, probably a Chinese man. But curiously, I think they have a woman over there. Yes, shows you it reminds you of the fall of the white man. Yes, vile stuff. The great history of the Europeans, and all peoples have a great history. Theirs is a bit more bloody, but they're conquerors. Julius Caesar, Alexander the Great, Napoleon Bonaparte, and then now we have all these broads. Hear me? Come on. Imagine being led by someone who can't even safely walk through an alley. Imagine being sent to war by someone who can't win a fist fight. How about this? Someone who's never even been in a fist fight. It's ludicrous, utterly ludicrous, and all you have to blame are yourselves. You see, the white man has grown so weak that rather than take responsibility or the accountability that the manosphere says women never take, they'd much rather blame the Jews because the Jews did everything. No, not true. It is when we can appreciate the truth, understand it, accept it, live with it, instrumentalize it, that we can advance. But for now, we become drunk on lies. Yes. It's really sad to see this kind of a state has befallen so much of mankind. Nations that were previously great, it appears they will never again be great. Many of them disappearing from the earth due to low birth rates. Why? Because the man has become weak, allowed the woman out of her natural place, and she roams the earth, a Looney Tune, creating havoc for herself and all others. She is without guidance. And now you can't tame her. And if you want to set things right, it is going to take a firm hand. I promise you. Such a major mind and soul, he writes, why do you think we are just now getting to see this type of energy directed towards Zelensky? What is the end game? What's the debt? Trump is trying to balance the books, which is what businessmen do. He's not guaranteed a second term unless he changes the Constitution. So he's going to get to the hard work of balancing the books. We've heard him talk about this golden visa or premium visa scheme, wherein you're basically selling citizenship, so to speak, selling residency, selling passports. And it's a reasonable thing. Truth be told, I saw a lot of imbeciles in the comments speaking on that which they know not. But he's getting to the work of balancing the books, and he's looking at the real debt that we have, and a lot of it is coming from these protracted wars. We've heard Trump speak about, creating a pact with other countries to reduce military spending. Now, we have the most colossal military budget that has ever existed, and it would be a great benefit to us to reduce the military budget. However, that's just Trump talking out of two sides of his mouth, because Lord knows his positioning is the posturing of empire. And to do that, you require military might. Even if you could stop the budgetary bleeding for the military industrial complex, psychologically, I don't think that he is able to do that. I don't think that the deep state will allow that. So I think those are just good ideas that will never become good actions. So the end game is to try to bring some sanity to American economics. For example, I'm in Oman. It's wildly expensive, makes you feel like a pauper, even if you're a wealthy person, because the Omani Real is about one Omani Real will get you $2.60. One Omani Real gets you $2.60. Their currency is not a little stronger than ours; it is extraordinarily stronger. If you've operated with the British pound, or you've operated with the euro when it was stronger than the U.S. dollar, you felt like you were doing well. But it's never been this much stronger. So you Europeans, you don't even know what I'm talking about. You hear me? Like, you've never had this kind of spending power versus the dollar. We're talking about 2.6, which is to say, if you show up here as a millionaire, you are instantly like a 300,000-aire. You showed up as a millionaire in this country, you're a 300,000-aire. You have been reduced instantly. And that just lets you know how much in the toilet the country is. So I think the end game is try to get this country out of the toilet.